Good morning, class. These are our 5-4 notes for informal geometry. We're looking at the hypotenuse leg postulate. So hopefully the word hypotenuse makes you think about a right triangle because that's what we have. And we're starting out with a little right triangle review. We're going to label the leg, hypotenuse, and the right angle. And I did have to put a little comma in here on my notes. I already accidentally marked my right angle. I kind of jumped the gun on that. And my box is maybe not perfect looking, but that's how we mark a right angle. Across from the right angle is our hypotenuse. So that's how I find that. I have to go across, and that's my hypotenuse. And we're just going to write a couple notes in on that in case you've forgotten. So my hypotenuse is across from the right angle. Right angle. And the longest side. The other two sides are called legs, and it doesn't matter. I mean, they're very interchangeable. I know when we do the Pythagorean theorem, we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and the a and the b can be either of these legs, and we can switch them around, and it doesn't matter. So they're just both legs. So notice that the legs are attached to that right angle, right? So I want to show that with a different color. So if this is my leg here, and this is the other leg here. Together, those legs form that right angle. So that's another thing that we can kind of look for on these. So the hypotenuse leg postulate says we can conclude two triangles are congruent if they have, well, first of all, they have to be right triangles. So let's go ahead and do that. Right triangles, because this only works when we have a hypotenuse. If the hypotenuses are congruent, so let's say congruent hypotenuses and one other side, which is just really the leg, congruent. So if I have two right triangles, so it has to be right triangles. So let's go ahead and mark them both as right triangles. If I have the hypotenuse congruent, and so remember the hypotenuse is the longest side, so I'm going to mark that one congruent, and one other side. So it could be this side up here congruent or this side at the bottom congruent. Either of those congruent. So I'm going to mark the bottom one. Then our triangles are congruent. So just to think about the other way that we could do that. So if I have these two right triangles and my hypotenuses are congruent, I could also have this leg congruent. So that's what we're looking for. This is hypotenuse leg postulate. So one more way to prove that triangles are congruent. So now we're going to go through and we're going to decide if these triangles are showing hypotenuse leg congruency. If not, it could be something else. And if you can't remember what the something else is, on the back of your notes, we kind of have all these written out, including the new one. So the ones we've had are side, 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 angle, 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 side. And here's our new one, hypotenuse leg. And that's for right triangles only. Okay. So if it's not HL, it could be one of these other ones. So let's go ahead and check out markings on these. So it shows already that I have right angles. So I'm thinking, this could be hypotenuse leg. And we have one leg congruent. That's not the hypotenuse. But what do we know about the hypotenuse? Well, if I look at this, my hypotenuse, my side across from the right angle, is going to be this diagonal through the middle of the rectangle. So here it is for this one. But when I'm looking at the other right angle, it's also across from that. So this is a shared hypotenuse that belongs to both of them. So I'm going to mark because that side is congruent to itself. And so now we do have a hypotenuse congruent. We do have legs congruent. We do have a right triangle. So this is going to be yes, HL. All right, on the next one, what do we have? So already we have the right angles. And then let's check across my right angle. So this is my hypotenuse for this triangle. Here's my hypotenuse for this one. And we do have those marked congruent. Okay. So what else do we know on this triangle? Well, we don't know anything about another leg. Just because they look equal does not mean that we can assume that. But I do have vertical angles. So I have this vertical angle here and a vertical angle on the other side. So we know that our vertical angles are congruent also. So do we have HL? No, we don't have HL. So let's write no HL. But what do we have? We do have, if we go around our triangle, I can see that I have, let's see, I've got an angle and another angle. Actually, I've got angle, angle, and then I've got a side, right? Angle, angle, side marked on this one. How about the other one? My right angle, and then that angle, and then my side again. So this is going to be AAS. So I have two angles, and I have a side connected to one of those angles. So nope, they show angle, angle, side. So they are congruent, but it's not hypotenuse leg. All right, let's look at the next one. We do have right triangles again. We know that this line here is going to be 180. So if we have a right angle on this side, we must also have a right angle on the other side. And we have that these two sides are congruent. So let's see which sides are those. It looks like that's the one across from the right angle for both. So we have our hypotenuse. So we've got our right angle. We've got our hypotenuse. So do we also have a leg? And we can see that there's this shared side between the two that's a leg. I'm going to mark that. And once we mark that leg, then yes, we have a hypotenuse, we have a leg, we have a right angle. So this is going to be yes, HL, hypotenuse leg. All right, on the next row. So what do we have here? We have a right angle marked again. All right, we've got a leg on both sides. It's not across from the right angle, so it's not the hypotenuse. We also have this shared side in the middle that I can mark. And we don't have anything about the hypotenuse. So I'm going to say it's no HL, but that means we have some other kind of congruent. So let's see what's going on. We have a side here, and then we have an angle, and then we have another side. So we have a side and a side and an angle between. So that's going to be side, angle, side. So hopefully you can see that on this triangle. Like here's one side, here's the other side that's congruent, and between them would be that angle. So it's two sides, and the included angle is what we call it. All right, so side, angle, side on this one. Let's check out the next one. So on this one, I have a right triangle again, and I have a leg congruent, and I have another leg congruent. But in order to show hypotenuse leg, I need a right angle, which I have. I need a leg, which I have, and I also need a hypotenuse. But if I look at the middle, that's the hypotenuse. It's across from the right angle, right? Across from the right angle for both of them, and it is congruent to itself. So I do have a hypotenuse and a leg congruent. So this is going to be yes, HL, but also, I mean, if we think about it, all three sides are congruent. So it's also side, side, side. And I even have, like I had on the last one, I've got a side and another side and the angle in between them. So it's also side, angle, side. So also side, 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 and side, angle, side. So we're just still practicing these triangle congruencies. All right, last one. So on this one, I do not have a right angle. So without a right angle, I can't have hypotenuse leg. So it doesn't matter what sides are equal. With no right angle, it's no hypotenuse leg. I don't have a hypotenuse if it's not a right triangle. So what I do have here is I've got a congruent side, and I've got, oh, this side right here is congruent to itself. And then I also have a congruent angle. So what I'm noticing on this though, is it's not side, angle, side. Like here's one side over here, and here's a side over here. The angle in between them would be right there. And I have this angle over here's congruent. So what I really have is a side and another side and then an angle, right? If I'm going around this, it's side, side, angle. And side, side, angle is not one of our triangle congruency postulates. So these do not have congruency. They are not congruent, or we don't have proof they are congruent. They could totally be congruent. They look congruent, but we don't have any proof. So we'll have to say nope, not congruent triangles. All right. So again, on the back side of your notes is all of these congruency statements. So even though we're doing these notes online, you might want to grab this tomorrow if you can't print out at home, just so that you have all of this information, all of these postulates on one page. So these are all the things we've learned basically for chapter 5. So if you have any questions, make sure you join on Zoom or ask in class or send an email. Have a good day.